Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Hands on SAP Dev with me, DJ Q Macro. It's another Friday morning, obviously. Yeah, I see some people in the chat already. So good morning to Christian and to Tim. A nice little sunshine emoji there because it is very sunshiny here in Manchester. Looking forward to meeting up with you later, Tim. And good morning to Leo and Niels and AP and Denise. Good morning from a rainy Brussels South. Yeah, okay. You know what? I was in Brussels South, Brussels Midi railway station this time last week, I think. Or was I? I don't know. I can't remember. Or the week before. Anyway, that's completely random. So Sachin, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Sachin, and good morning. Hello, gang of OData. Ready for some action? Ooh, nice. Welcome, Flatline. I see what you did there. Good morning, Rahul, and good morning, everybody. So, yeah, welcome. We're going to be talking as the title suggests as well, just above there, or there, in fact, there. And as Flatline has alluded to in his nice little pun there, we're going to be talking about actions and functions. And good morning to Jonas in Germany. So yeah, we're going to be talking about actions and functions. There's a lot to talk about. And because there's so much to convey and to explore and discover together, I've got a bit of stuff that's prepared, which is not normal, but I think I've needed to do that. Because again, I still want to stick within it. We could spend all day. I could have a live stream, 8-hour live stream for this, but I'm not allowed to do that. Really, well, I mean, I'm allowed to do that, but I don't think it would be very sensible. So yeah, I've got some stuff pre-prepared. Is that tautological? Vignesh, good morning to Vignesh, and good morning everybody. So yeah, let's just dive straight in. Actually, let me move to the main scene. Just as a reminder, this is the repo that I'm sort of using to provide a sort of a cut down Northwind service. Last week when we looked at all things $filter, I was using this Northwind service here, as well as the original services.odata.org Northwind service, the V4 Northwind service, and the TripPin service. But today we're going to be concentrating on the little Northwind service we have in this repo here, and the stuff that I'm going to be showing you today, I'm going to push to the repo either during the live stream or straight after. Abdul, good morning. GM Abdul and Vignesh, good morning to you as well. Yeah, this is quite important to have a little connection to. So let me just copy that and bring it into the chat there. That's our repo. Now, why don't we start off? Let me move that to there. And I've got this branch called actions and functions. This is the repo here. There's nothing really I've done. Well, I've got a little bit prepared, but let me just start up. Am I running something here? No, let me just start something up and we'll just have a play around and remind ourselves of what we've got. And then we'll start digging into actions and functions. So if I do a CDS watch, in fact, all I've got here in the main is a series of entity sets in this Northwind model service. Okay, we've done this before. Good morning, Pavan. Good morning to you and welcome. We've done this before, so that's what we've got. That's what we're starting with. And I'm going to say CDS watch. And the reason I'm going back to this repo is because it's an OData service that we've got to play around with, that's built with CAP, SAP's Cloud Application Programming Model, which is awesome. And there's some great support for actions and functions in OData V4 in CAP. So we're going to actually create some actions and functions to sort of have a feel of what they're all about. Okay. And Santiago, good morning to you and welcome. So that's that. So let me bring in the browser here, and let's go to localhost 4004 and see what we've got. This should be familiar with. And if we go to, for example, products, we can see we've got our normal sort of, let me make it a little bit bigger, our normal sort of product entity set. We've also got the suppliers, entity set here, and so on, right? Products and suppliers, and so on. So far, so good. Good morning to Thomas Young. Oh my goodness, Thomas Young in the house. Nice to join live for a change. It's nice to have you live for a change, Mr. Thomas Young. So welcome. So we've got our regular, very, very simple OData service, and we're going to be building on that to explore what actions and functions are. Tiago, good morning to Brazil, to you in Brazil, and welcome. So fantastic. So let me just go while I'm in the browser. Talking of actions and functions, there are different words we're going to get into our brain, right? There are actions and there are functions, and we'll understand the difference between the two shortly. And when we start to look at the documentation, there are bound actions and functions and unbound actions and functions. And also there's a difference between actions and functions in that one, actions specifically are designed for when you want to do something that makes changes to data or deletes it or inserts it, whatever, that has side effects in sort of HTTP RESTful terms, right? And if you want to do some sort of read-only type thing, then it's a function. Now, last week we briefly mentioned when we were talking about this week, looking ahead to this week, we talked about, if the boss is watching the stream, better be good, but no pressure. Thanks, Christian, for pointing that out. So when we talked last week, I think Flatline, it was you, wasn't it, that was saying, oh yeah, FunctionImport, that's an SAP term. The question, he didn't state it, but the question, FunctionImport, that's an SAP term. I wasn't sure, and we looked, and all we found in reference to FunctionImport were SAP sort of results in Google. However, I had a quick look afterwards. We go to OData V2, FunctionImport, but also OData.org. In this OData.org site, we have in version 2 of the quote-unquote specification. If we go down, we can see, in fact, the FunctionImport. There we go, FunctionImport. Okay, if you remember, service operation was a phrase that we used when we were using OData V2 before the advent of OData V4. So an OData resource that wasn't a collection or an entry, or nowadays we call it an entity set or an entity, right? Because we're using the OData terminology, the entity data model terminology more now. We talked about a service operation, which I always said was orthogonal to the otherwise beautifully RESTful approach that OData is. So FunctionImport is actually an OData term, not an SAP term. Okay, so that's clear. Now, let's talk about the word import and FunctionImport and ActionImport. Now, when we're talking about OData V4, if we go to the OData V4, V3, V4, CSDL, the common schema definition, CSDL, common schema definition language. Okay, let's make sure we got the latest one. There we go. Yeah, this is version 4 with the latest errata, the latest errors resolved. And if we go down, we can see in the action, and there we go. In the action, let's go back up again. In the action and function section, we get a description of what these things are. So this particular section here is your bedtime reading for later on, right? You don't have to read this through now, but basically, if we have a look at this, we've got 12.1 talking about the entity data model element. An element is an XML, the thing in XML angle brackets, right? Action. And then we also have the element EDM function, okay? And I'm going to summarize this for us all so we can get on with actually hacking on stuff. Here we go. The element action represents an action in an entity model. Actions may have observable side effects and may return a single instance or a collection of instances of any type, okay? So basically what that means is an action is all about, if you want to, offer a mechanism whereby the client can do something to your OData service where it's creating, changing, or deleting data on the back end, where it has an observable side effect. A side effect means something happens, something changes on the server, okay? And also, maybe somewhere else, or maybe somewhere here also, that sort of implies to us, even without reading this, that in order to make an action call from our HTTP client, What do you think? In fact, what do you think the request method, the HTTP method, should be? I'll leave that for you to answer in the chat. Good morning, Andrew. Good evening, Andrew. Hope you've got a nice coffee or a nice glass of wine, and welcome. So yeah, let me know in the chat what HTTP method you think should be used, even without reading the documentation specification, for something that has a side effect. Okay. And while we're thinking about that, let's have a look at functions. Functions must not have observable side effects and must return a single instance or a collection of instances of any type. So basically, actions and functions can return the same sorts of things. And when it says here, a single instance or a collection of instances of any type, that means, of an entity type, like a product or a supplier, or a category or whatever, right? But it also can return, another type of type is a complex type where you might have an address with a first line, second line, city, postcode, etc. as a structure, right? Or you have the sort of the raw, the basic fundamental types like string or integer, okay? So actions and functions can return, one or more of any of these different things, like anything you can define in the OData metadata model, you can return in an action or function, okay? Functions may be composable. We're not going to get onto composability. So flatlines, Andrew says, no wine post-COVID recovery. I'm glad you're recovering. Well done, Andrew. Flatline is post. Yes, flatline says post, and flatline is correct, and many others are. Yes, I deliberately left it a bit vague. AP is saying post or put. Yes, exactly. If you want to, modify something on the server, then put sometimes semantically is more appropriate. Again, we're not going to get into the differences, but basically it's post. But with functions, because functions must not have observable side effects, the OData protocol requires you to call a function using the HTTP method get. So in summary, where are we so far? We've got actions that have side effects. All right, it says actions may have side effects, but let's think, generally. Actions have side effects. Actions do things to your data, and you call them with post. And functions don't do anything to your data, it's just read-only stuff, and you call them with get. Okay. Now, there's also this is bound attribute. Okay, and again, this CSDL common schema definition language part of the specification, part 3 of the OData specification, is all about basically, to you and me, describing what's in the metadata. Let's have a look at our metadata, right? Our metadata here looks like that. The metadata is XML, and we've got this schema, we've got an entity container, and in the container we've got the different sets that are available, and then we've got the entity types, and so on, right? This is the metadata. And so we're talking about here, this is why we're talking about element. An element is something, that's an element, that word there, entity type, because it's an XML angle bracket thing. And that thing there, name or type or partner, those are all attributes, okay? These are XML terms, not OData terms, XML terms. Now, let's go back here. I think we're done with this. You can read this at your leisure. It is fascinating, but we're going to leave this here and talk about bound and unbound in a more general. In fact, why don't we dive in and talk about bound and unbound as we go through. In fact, yeah, let's do that. Let me go to here and bring this in here. So we've got our thing running. And what I think we should do is start to use cap and use CDS to define a function. Okay, why don't we define a function? And let's see what the results of that function definition is in the metadata. Okay, so why don't we, here we go. Why don't we do this? So if we say here CDS compile to EDMX, so we can use CDS to compile the current service definition, which, as we remember, is serve main.cds, which is just that, right, to EDMX, and we have to specify what service or what something, serve main.cds. And let's put it into metadata. Okay, there we go. get rid of it. We don't need that anymore. Now, let's have a look at metadata. And we can see here, here's the XML. Fine. And there's no surprises here. There's no surprises. We've got, okay, we've got the entity container that sort of has the different entity sets within it. And then outside of the entity container, we've got the entity types. We've got products entity type, and we've got the suppliers entity type there, and we've got the categories entity type, and so on. And we've got a summary of sales by years, which we added before. Okay. Now, why don't we use the power of Git to help us figure out what's been added to the metadata when we start to define a function? Let's define it. Okay, so git add metadata, git commit add metadata. Okay, fine. So now let's go into serve main and let's talk about functions first of all. Okay. Good morning, Helmut. You're not too late at all. Moin moin to Helmut. Let's talk about functions, and we're going to define a function that just will give us, it will give us like a random product. Okay. I sort of spent a bit of time trying to think of sort of example functions and actions, bound and unbound, and an unbound function, anything unbound, is basically not connected to, not associated with a specific entity, a specific instance of an entity. So if you're thinking of the products, for example, you might have a Chang product, a Chai product, or whatever, or the supplier, supplier 1, supplier 2, supplier 3. Something that is a bound action or a bound function relates directly, and you call it in the context of that particular entity, right? But an unbound function or an unbound action is something that you call generally at the service level. Okay, so if we say, for example, here function randomProduct returns, and then you can specify, you can specify anything, returns integer, whatever, right? Or what we're going to say is we're going to return that type, okay? Because we've already got the product's type. So we can define a function here, and it's an unbound function, which means that we can just call it unrelated to any particular entity that we're looking at. So let's do that. And let's do this again. Compile and put it into metadata. And now hopefully, yeah, there we go. There on the, just on, it might make that one smaller, I think. So we can, yeah, it's all on one page, all on one line. Can you see there next to my line 17, there's a plus. That is my little git gutter in Vim, in my editor, to say this line has been added since the last commit, right? So we can see the result of defining a function, and in this case an unbound function, gives us this line here, but it also down here gives us, in the sort of same area as the types, a definition of that function. randomProduct is bound false, it's not bound, it's an unbound function, is composable, you can't compose it, we're not going to go into composition. And what it returns is an instance of the products. Convention in CDS, in CAP, is to name the entity types plural. To be honest, I'm not sure that fits in my brain properly, but I'm just following convention. Today we have a star-studded session. Yes, we do, AP. We are star-studded with this XML here, definitely, or plus-studded anyway. And it returns something of type Northwind model, which is the EDMX sort of schema name here, products. Okay, let's add something else. Okay, I've got something again pre-prepared. Well, also the import. I spoke to. I managed to get hold of Ralph Handel, the chair, the erstwhile chair of the OData Standards Committee. Ralph's an awesome person, and I asked him why is it called import, and I got the impression, and he sort of confirmed this. It's almost like importing, bringing in to the entity container this function. It's like lifting it in. So that's why it's called a function import. It's importing that function definition and making it available, right? Because it's not available otherwise, because it's not attached to any particular entity. Okay, so let's leave that there, right? In fact, no. Why do we do yeah, okay, no, let's do let's edit that main thing again, and let's add action. Let's add an action. Okay, I've got it written down here. Submit order. Right, we're going to have that, and then but this action, obviously submit order. The name of it sort of suggests we're going to have a side effect. So we'll say here it takes basically one or more parameters, and these are the parameters. There's an open bracket. It takes a product parameter, and that's of type products product ID. Okay, and it also takes what we're going to say is we want an unbound action that has a side effect that will reduce the stock of a particular product depending on how much we order. Okay, that, nice and simple. Quantity, so we want quantity, and we'll say products of type, for example, we could say type integer, but let's say units in stock, because remember over here we've got in our product entity type definition we've got units in stock, which is an integer, right? So let's just let's be slightly more sort of obvious as to what we're doing here, and that's the end of the sort of the signature. But what does it return? Returns well, let's see, returns products units in stock. Okay, got that. Now that again is unbound. It sort of sits separate to the rest of the entity set definitions. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning and welcome. By the way, any questions, just shout. There's a lot to take in here, but it's actually, it's actually quite, when we start thinking about it, it's quite straightforward. So let's do that. Let's go back here and generate that metadata again, and then have a look at it. VI metadata. So now, what have we got? We've got, oh yeah, we got there's our function import. And now sort of logically, you can sort of guess that this would have appeared. We now have an action import. The action name is submit order, and the action is defined, down there, Northwind model.submit order, and there it is. Okay, within the schema, the name of the schema is Northwind model, we've got a submit order, and within the action definition, unlike within the function definition, which has just got a return type, here we've got a couple of parameters. Okay, nice. So flatline, what is stopping us in cap in function doing some side effects also? Probably nothing. At that level, you can do whatever you want. Even outside of the context of OData and the context of actions and functions, if you are writing code at that level, you can do whatever you want. But that's not a good idea, right? But it's a good question, right? You could override the normal handling of an entity set request, of a query, and do some changes if you want, if you're crazy, but don't, because there are certain conventions and expectations, sort of dictated by the semantics of HTTP that we should follow. Right? Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Flatline? Okay, so there we go. We've got that. Now let's have one more thing. Let's go into where is it? Into the main CDS, and now let's start to think about bound functions or bound actions. I'm going to do a bound action, right? I'm going to say action, or is it actions? I think actions. There we go. Actions, and then we can define in here, right, inside a little sort of clause that's specific to the products entity set, right, or the products entity really, actions. And note I'm defining this at the service level rather than the schema level. I think it's better, mentally, I think it's better to define it at the service level, right? We can say action discontinue. I want to discontinue a product, right? I'm looking at a product, I've got a product specified in my OData resource path, like product 1, product 2, product 3, and I want to discontinue it. And discontinue for us will mean, for the sake of argument, that we want, this is returns product. Returns products. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, fine. We just get the product back. When we discontinue a product, we want to sort of set to 0 the units in stock and maybe also the units on order, and set the discontinued Boolean flag to true. Okay. Helmut says functions are sent via get and actions via post. Exactly, Helmut. We were talking about this, I think, just before you arrived. Functions are sent via get because functions must not have any side effects. Actions may have side effects and therefore must be requested with post. Exactly. I will not make Odin angry. God of OData. Flatline. Classic. Yes, I think we can all agree that Odin is probably the god of OData. Perfect. Well done, Flatline. Good call. So we got that. So now we've defined an action, but it's an action that's sort of related to the product's definition. So let's see what that. Let's see what that effect has. Let's compile it again and look at the difference. Down here, we've still only got the random product and the submit order. So we've only got the unbound stuff in the entity container. Okay, so because we don't need to lift a bound action or a bound function because you've already got the context for it. But so what do we call it? Discontinue. Discontinue. There we go. Action name, discontinue. However, look at the difference. Is bound equals true. Okay, entity set path equals in, as in you put it in the entity set path. And we've got one parameter in. Okay, that parameter is like, we didn't specify that parameter, did we? We didn't specify any parameter at all, but because it's a bound action, you automatically get in the in parameter the identifier, how to identify the product to which this function call is, or this action call is going to be bound, right? So far so good. Oh, 8:26. We're doing okay. I was panicking a little bit this morning because there's so much to talk about. I said to Antonio, Antonio, are you there, by the way? Hi, Antonio, as well. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to... But anyway, right, so we've got that. Now, we're still running this thing here, so let's just go back to here and refresh. Yeah, it's still working. We don't need that anymore. Let's go back here and start to build out the implementation of those actions and functions. Now, this is not about CAP and it's not about JavaScript programming. So if you're not that familiar with CAP or CDS, well, no, sorry, if you're not that familiar with CAP or JavaScript, don't worry. It's only a small amount of JavaScript. And again, because we've only got an hour, I've got these sort of pre-canned, which I don't normally like to do. But let's start by, let's start by closing that. And let's do it here. Let's do it sort of here. I'm not sure. That's probably wide enough. Yeah, okay. We'll do it sort of, horizontally. If I say, let's, in fact, copy, store. I've got them in here. Store main.js into serve. Okay, serve main.js. And as you can see, I've got a very. Can I make this a bit smaller? Is that still okay? Is that still size-wise okay? Jonas says, that is so useful. Could you take some minutes about how to integrate that stuff? Is there a possibility to use CAP together with SAP R3 on HANA-DB? Oh my goodness me. I suppose that it depends on how you want to use CAP with SAP R3. You could use CAP, for example, to consume some SAP R3 services, for example. Or I'm not sure in what way you're thinking of that consumption, but certainly CAP as a service layer, you can build stuff that not only serves but also consumes and then possibly serves as well, right? So that's certainly possible. So Andrew says, I've got to say that all this CAP and OData over these sessions made my SAP certified developer rather easy. Well, thank you, Andrew, and we're glad that we're all learning together, and that's helped as well. That's brilliant. Okay, so in fact, let me just let's just do, there we go. Yeah, that'll do, but that's better. Okay, we've got that there. Okay, fine. So we can see this is like, a skeleton service implementation, for sort of unadulterated default CAP. CAP will do everything for you, all the CRUD plus Q out of the box for anything you define. But if you want to do something special, you can add a JavaScript-based, Node.js-based service file, and by convention it should be the same name as the CDS file. So we've got main.cds and we've got main.js, which is this file here. And you've got this sort of classic. To be honest, I'm not a fan of object orientation. However, this is the the recommended way of approaching writing sort of services and writing sort of functions to bring in to supply custom actions and functions and handling of CRUD plus Q queries in general in CAP. Okay, and here all I've got is to say, well, I'm extending the application service within the CDS definition. I'm calling it the same thing as my schema definition, Northwind model, and in this this is an init function. Okay, so it's a very sort of similar pattern to what you might have seen elsewhere, maybe in UI5 or whatever. You override or extend the core service definition. You override the init function, and then you call at the end your parents, the init function of the thing you're overriding. So, and all I'm saying here is at the moment, having a console log in class Northwind, and we can see it. Where is it? I saw it somewhere. Yeah, in class Northwind. Okay. So if we, in fact, let's do that again. If I save that, obviously I'm using CDS watch, so CDS will start again. There we go, in class Northwind model. That's not going to make any difference right now to the where are we there? To the serving of data products. There we go. That's fine. It's all fine. There. Okay. However, it now gives us the chance to start implementing those functions that we've defined. In fact, let's go back here a second. In fact, no, tell you what we'll do. We'll open the metadata XML, okay? And why don't we define, first of all, randomProduct, okay? That's a nice sort of simple, from a conceptual perspective, that's a nice simple function, okay? Remember, it's a function. It has no observable side effects. We're going to call it with get. And also it's unbound. Okay, is bound equals false, and you can sort of imagine why it's unbound, because we just want to dip into the collection of functions, collection of products, and just have one given to us. It's not a very useful business scenario, but fine. Classes in JavaScript, just lipstick. Andrew, you know what? I said to myself the other day, classes in JavaScript is lipstick on a pig. Well, actually, it's not. No, JavaScript's not a pig, but yeah, it's just. I don't know, JavaScript's going the wrong way for me. No, all these classes and stuff in JavaScript, no thank you. JavaScript had a beautiful prototypical inheritance model, and now we've got object inheritance. No. But anyway, that's another story. This is what I've been searching for using function modules. I have to create OData on gateway, and then I can create cap to use it, and this is not ideal. Create OData service to use it in another OData service. Yes, exactly. There's so much power that can be had by embracing actions, understanding actions and functions, and then embracing, right? And once you get over the mental sort of jarring of, you can do things from an OData V4 perspective, with actions, for example, that are sort of orthogonal to the beauty of REST, okay? But once you sort of, embrace that, then, it's good. Prototyping is horror. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Helmut. But all opinions are welcome here, and I respect that one. Prototyping is horror. I might get a T-shirt. Prototyping is horror. Anyway, so we've got here function. We're going to implement this function. Okay, let's go back to this one, and I just so happen to have in my store. No, where? Oh, store. What do we call it? Oh, what is this? What am I doing? Discontinue. No, randomProduct. There we go. Look at that. There's an unbound function. This is the only time I'm ever going to be organized, right? So let's save that for a second. There we go. And let's just talk through this, because it's not really that scary. For those CAP developers already in Node.js, we have this dot before, this dot on, this dot after, to sort of override the standard functionality. And this dot on also allows us to sort of react to events as well. CAP can deal with events. Santiago prefers classes as well. Whoa. I would love to talk more about that, but we've only got 25 minutes left. And it would take another 2 days to talk about object orientation versus functional and prototypical inheritance and so on. Anyway, so I'm defining here with this dot on, which is the same pattern as everything else. I'm going to say when we get some call that's called randomProduct, then I want to service that request with the following function definition. And because we're going to be making some await calls here, there's await, right? This function definition needs to be defined as asynchronous. Async await, it's a way in JavaScript of quite cleanly managing the definition and the calling of functions that are asynchronous. Okay, it takes a parameter, rec as in request. Okay, and the definition is, all I'm going to say is go and get a single product. Okay, but actually I don't want any of the product properties. I just want this SQL function based thing maximum. What's the highest product ID? Okay, over here, let's just bring that back in. We've got, if we do here $count, which is this extension to the resource path, we get, come on, 77. Okay, so we know there's 77 products. So what I'm effectively saying here, let's go back. What I'm effectively saying here is, what's the highest product ID? Okay, and we get that in the result.max. The result is an object that we get back, and then we just compute a random number between 1 and 77. And then once we've done that, we go and make another call using this beautiful sort of, I can't think of the word. Very, very descriptive. This is typical sort of Node.js style. If you look inside how the Node.js version of CAP is built, you see all sorts of beauty like this. The way that you can express this, select from products. Okay, very sort of SQL-like, but it's JavaScript, right? So I want to go and use that random ID to go and get that product. Okay, and I return that product. That product is then an object which represents, and it's an object that's described by the product's type. And that's it. So let's save that. Okay, we've saved it already, I think. Yep, there we go. And let's go across. And, in fact, let's go across, because we can call this, because this is a function, it means we can call it with get. So let's do that. In fact, let's look at the metadata again. Metadata, random product, Northwind model, random product. So in fact, this is the name of the function there that we need to call. Okay, so let's try that. There. Now, this caught me out when I was researching this, so I'm going to do this deliberately anyway. We'll see what happens. I'm going to call that random product thing there. And it says here, Northwind model is not an entity set, a singleton, an ActionImport, or a FunctionImport. Okay. What? It's because this thing here, after the service URL, right, the service prefix, we get this, and it looks like, and it's being interpreted as a part of the resource path, and it can't distinguish. It doesn't know. Oh, Northwind model. That's not a type or an entity or a singleton. So in order to distinguish, you need to specify, and this is in the OData spec, you need to specify open bracket, close bracket, because it's like a function, right? You can sort of understand why that sort of makes sense. So let's do that. Oh, what's going on? What? Northwind model, Northwind model dot random, what? Northwind model dot, what? Oh yeah, of course. It's not, it's Northwind dash model, isn't it? Yes. Sorry, it's just random product. There we go, random product. Let's do that random product. Could not find function for FunctionImport random product. Oh God, what's going on here? Ooh. What's going on? Bong, bong, bong. There we go. Let's go to here. Let's run that again. What's going on? That's running again. Okay, let's go back here. In fact, let's just try it over here. What are we going to do? Well, actually, no. We will use the browser. Northwind model, random product. What's going on here? Northwind model, metadata. Come on. Products. What? Still giving me an error here. What's going on? Let's go here. Let's zoom that in. Reference error. Products is not defined. Let's just run that again. CDS watch. Okay, that's fine. So let's go here and try that. Metadata. There we go. Okay. Now let's do that again. Northwind model. Where is it called? Random product. Random product. Okay. Northwind model. Random product. What am I doing wrong here? What am I doing wrong? What I've got to rescue us is a list of, let's just have git add metadata and services main.cds asterisk and everything. DJ, really helpful session. Can't watch it live due to meetings, but I watch a replay in every episode. More of that, please. Okay, thank you. And that's all right. Stefan, thank you for joining. Let me just go to git status, git commit, some work live. And also, I've got here in prep, I've got somewhere, where is it? Copy bin asterisk do temp. Let's do that, right? And let's now go back, check out actions and functions, and copy, make the bin. Oh, I've got it already, of course. Yeah, copy temp. What are we calling it? Unbound function random product into bin. Bin uf random product. No. What? Localhost 4004 Northwind model random product. That's what I'm doing. Bin random. Let's just back again there. Zoom out again. There. That should be okay. We're running that. Okay, let's just try that. What am I doing wrong with this on random product? What am I doing wrong? Is possible something with return type? Return. Oh no. Random product async. How much time we got? Oh yeah, we've got plenty of time to look at this because I've got the whole thing. Return super. That's fine. Return product. Products is not. Oh, I know what I'm not doing. What am I not doing? DJ, you're a fool. But we learn by mistakes, right? Check this out. Select one from products. What is products? Products is not a thing. Okay, products is not a thing. We need to define, we need to pull in the products entity definition. Of course. So why don't we say const products equals this dot entities Northwind model. We don't know what products is otherwise. Should been changing the reading it. Yes, we do. We want to change it. There we go. Products is not defined. Oh, Santiago just got it at the same time. Fantastic. Okay, so now will this work? Let's go here. Random product. Oh, 500. What's going on? Oh. Products equals this dot entities. Yeah, that should be right. Northwind products. Let's run that. There we go. Let's try that again. One second. Let's just do this. DJ, calm down. Let's have a look. Bin unbound function random product. Right. Let's see what happens. Exactly. Let's just go here and zoom that in. Expected item target to be a path string. This dot on async super init. That's fine as well. That's fine. This dot entity is Northwind model products. Yeah, that's okay. So what else? Okay. Products is still unknown. Now, okay, just given the time, what I'm going to do is main.js. There we go. Yes, there we go. Right, let's bring it in. Main, copy temp main.js into serve. Okay, CDS run or watch even. I didn't want to do that. I don't have anything prepared. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to build it bit by bit. CDS entities. What did I have? Where are we? Vi serve main.js. This entity. Okay, so we got all the different definitions here now. random product. Let's just try that because that was working before. Okay, let's try it. UF bin UF. There we go. Okay, well, let's try that in the browser now. So if we go here, random product, let's just have a look. Metadata, nothing's changed now. We've got here the function import random product, and we've got random product here. So now if we say model random product, there we go. And run it again, 24, 46, 70, 77, 3, 66, 42, all these different random products. That was a bit weird. I have no idea what was going on there. But rather than try and figure out what was going on, let's understand that from an HTTP perspective. Let's go back to here, and let's go to here and say vi bin uf random product. Okay, importing the product was different in the version you created. It read Northwind model and then copied. That's why. Okay, fine. Yes. So I almost got there, but not quite. Okay, it didn't know what products was. I tried to import it. I imported it in the wrong. Of course. Well done. Well spotted, Christian. Well spotted. Yes, it was the mistake. Okay, fine. And why is that a mistake? Why was that the mistake? Because I defined in the schema that the namespace was Northwind, not Northwind model. Okay, that makes sense. Well done, team. I think we got there in the end. A bit rubbish, but there we go. It's me. So here we're calling an unbound function, random product, and that will return bin uf random product. Now let's have a look at the definition of an unbound action. The unbound action that we had, okay? We said in our unbound action definition, let's bring it up here actually, vi serve main.cds, we had submitOrder, okay? And it takes a product and it takes a quantity, okay? And there we get the parameter values that are submitted inside this data property in the request, and we're just using destructuring to grab the product and grab the quantity, and then we go and get the stock from that product. Then we calculate the new stock by reducing the stock by however many quantity we ordered, and then we make an update call and specify the new stock for the units in stock, and then we return new stock. Okay, we return effectively an integer. Should we try that? 847, perfect. Yeah, okay, good. Let's go down here. Let's go out of here. And now the thing is, if we have a look at bin unbound action. No, okay. 1 second. Copy temp unbound action submit order to bin vi bin unbound action. There we go. We need to specify. It's called pair programming. Actually, if it's more than one person, more than two people, what is it called? Best way to code something together. Yes, on hands-on SAP dev coding, pair programming. Yes, perfect. So here, what can people tell me about this? We're actually sending, okay, with curl, application JSON. So we have to specify that the content type is application JSON. We have to specify something in the payload, okay? Product is product and quantity is quantity, okay? We're just taking these from the command line. So if we specify a parameter, the first parameter is going to be the product ID, and the second parameter are defaulting to product ID 1, and the second parameter is quantity, right? And we'll just default the quantity to 1. Okay, so if we say, in fact, if we say curl HB localhost 4004 Northwind model. See, that was confusing me because the Northwind model, right, is the name of the part of the resource path and not the namespace. Okay, group programming. Yes, Jonas, group programming. Perfect. Northwind model products. And just to confuse Flatline and annoy him. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm going to say products 2. Let's have products 2 or products 1. Products 1. That'll do. Products 1. There we go. Ooh, let's put it into JQ. JQ there, like that. So we get, and we'll do silent to get rid of that thing there, and we'll say clear as well there. Okay, fine. So we've got units in stock 39. Okay, so now if we run this, okay, let's just also have it like that. If we run that, what we're going to say is we're going to send this payload of JSON with the product ID and the quantity against that submit order. And notice here, we don't have the open brackets, close brackets. If we say bin submit order, oh, sorry, UA submit order, and we'll say, I don't know, why don't we say 5? Okay, we're going to order 5 of product ID 1, which should reduce the units in stock down to 34. And now, as a response, remember we said in the definition, where is it? 2 there, where 1. Let's go here, and in fact, let's bring up another one, vi main.serve main.js. In the definition here, we're returning new stock. Okay, if we open up the main, my keyboard's going really funny actually. If we open up the main.serve main.cds, we can see it's returning this units in stock type. Okay, so if we go here, that's why we get this value 34, and it's an int 32 according to the metadata. So now if we go down here and run that again, yeah, we get units in stock 34. So that's working as well. So that's an unbound action. It has a side effect. Good morning, Alexander, and welcome. Mob programming. Yeah, Pavan, it's more like mob programming, isn't it? Yes, group programming, mob programming. Okay, we've got 9 minutes left. So let's look through. Now let's move from unbound to bound. Let's get rid of that. Let's go here. Let's go to here. And let's just have a look at this one. Entity products. Okay, as projection on Northwind product, actions, and in CDS terms, if you want to define a function or an action, okay, you basically want to, you need to specify it within the actions keyword here. In fact, yeah, let's do the action, bound action first. Discontinue. Now let's have a look at this one here. Discontinue. There, bound action. Notice the difference in signature. Not this dot on submit order and then the definition of the function. We get this dot on, the definition of the action name, but then we also get, and this is basically part of the sort of the signature. If you think about it, something bound needs to be bound to something. So you can have a definition of discontinue bound to products or bound to something else, right? But this is the definition of the function for where discontinue is called in the context of a product type. Okay, and it's the same sort of thing. You know, we're making a call. This thing here is just doing some tremendously complex destructuring. We could have said, well, give me the data and get the params. And then the params is an array, and get the first item of the array, which is an object, which has a property of product ID. But that's using JavaScript's ES6 destructuring to say, just give me the product, just dive in there to that particular point and just give me the value of the product ID. Okay, and the product ID, don't forget this is bound, so we implicitly get the product ID given to us. And the product ID that's given to us is the ID of the product to which this function, this action that's being called is bound, right? And then we use the product ID to make an update call to say, set the units in stock to 0, set the units on order to 0, set the discontinue flag to true, and then go and grab it and spit it out as a result. Okay, does that make sense? Does that make sense? So let's try, should we try that? Let's just go back to the definition again. Action discontinue. So there we see it's a super simple action definition, bound action definition. There are no explicit parameters. We have an implicit parameter of the ID of the product to which we're making that call. So now let's go in while we're running the thing there. Now let's go to here and have a look. What have we got in bin? List bin. Okay, let's bring it in. Let's bring it in. Temp, bound function, no, bound action, discontinue. Bin, oh, move bound action to bin. VI bin. And by the way, I'm doing these sort of as individual things so you can have a look at them later. I'm going to push these to the repo. Now here, because this is an action, we'd actually, we don't need the content type, do we? Because this is an action, right? We need request. Okay, fail means if it goes wrong, set high return code. Silent means don't show me the, you know, the progress bar thing. Theoretically, we don't need the content type, do we? Because we're not sending anything in the post body, are we? Okay, if we were to try this, right, product Northwind model discontinue, let's try it. Let's try it in the browser first of all. So if we say here Northwind model products, I don't know, 4, what's that? 4, 22, okay. Let's say discontinue Northwind model dot discontinue, right? There. We get the appropriate HTTP response code 405, method get not allowed for bound action. Okay, you're not allowed to call. So going back to your question flatline, while you could do all sorts of chaos in the actual implementation, and allow that implementation to be called by get, if you actually define this as an action, you can't actually call it with get. Okay, that's different, slightly different to saying, well, you know, if you do have something that's a function that has no side effects, then the CAP framework will allow you to call that function with get, but you can do whatever you want, you know, if you're crazy, to change things. Does that make sense? Why do we need to use bound or use unbound? Oh, when do we need to use bound or unbound? Well, that's a good question. So let's just dig into that. Let's go back here. Let's have a look at our definition. In fact, let's bring in the final thing, copy temp main.cds to serve. Oh no, hold on, where is it? Yeah, I think so. Vi temp main.cds. That's all of them. There we go. Yeah. So copy temp main.cds into serve. Vi serve main.cds. This is all of them now. So we've got the bound action there. We've got the bound function, and we've got the unbound action, and we've got the unbound function. Okay. Now, I brought them all in just to sort of go through and think about the answer to this question. It's a really important question. A bound action or a bound function relates to the resource that you're specifying or dealing with. It relates to an implicit entity, an implicit instance of that given entity type, for example, right? So you've got a product 2, and you want to call a function or an action that acts upon or acts relating to that specific thing. Okay, it's almost like, you know, an instance method in OO, going back to OO, right? It's almost like an instance method. Whereas an unbound action or an unbound function is not related to a thing. It's not related specifically to an instance of an entity, right? Or to a whatever. In the same way, we have class or static functions in OO. You call those, or methods, you know, class methods, static methods, you call those methods unrelated to any given instance of that class. Okay. Does that make sense? Flatline? Oh, Santiago says, I think the answer, it depends. If it's something related with an entity, bound, and if it's not, it's unbound. Exactly right, Santiago. Excellent. Okay, so final thing then. Let's do a let's call discontinue. Did we call discontinue? No, we didn't, did we? Let's call discontinue. There we go. There, discontinue. I think we don't need that. Right, let's get rid of that. And then we'll call it BA, bin, BA, discontinue. What we're doing here, cat, bin, BA, discontinue. We're discontinuing, oh, whatever we specify. Let's just discontinue product 33. In fact, let's go back to here and say, no, let's go back to here and say products 33. That's not discontinued, and it's got some units. Oh, yeah, it's not discontinued, and it's got some units in stock. Okay, so let's just run that now. 33. What happened there? Oh, BA discontinue. Let's just run that. It's not silent. Okay, let's do that. Maybe we do need the thing. 1 second. Discontinue. Oh. Okay. Content type header. Let's do that then. Maybe we do need header content type application JSON. There we go. You learn everything every day. Request post. Let's do that again. Discontinue. No payload. What? Discontinue. What's going on? Silent fail. Request post. What's going on? Discontinue. Wait. No. Let's get it wrong. VI bin BA bound action discontinue. Copy temp BA bound action discontinue to bin. Did I mess things up again? Discontinue. 33. Oh, there we go. Okay. My editing skills are terrible today. Now we go back to here and refresh that. Hopefully that should go to true. That should go to 0, and that's already 0. There we go. So we have a bound action that had a side effect when I finally got it working right to discontinue that product. Same thing, similar thing rather, for address line. I've got 1 more minute. Let's do 1 more minute. Let's go to 3. And the address line is a read-only, no side effects allowed, a read-only function that's bound to a given supplier. Okay, so if we say here, copy temp bound function address line to bin vi bound function address line. All we're doing here is calling the address line on a given supplier. So we can say bin address line supplier. Let's what supplier? There we go. Let's have a supplier 3. Don't know. Okay, Grandma Kelly's Homestead. That's fine. Whatever. 3. There we go. We get 707 Oxford Road, comma, Ann Arbor, comma, 48104, comma, USA. And that's a combination. All we're doing is just grabbing some values and combining them. There we go. Sorry to go over. Spelling of application JSON. JSON spelling wrong. Oh my goodness me. I'm trying to go too fast. Anyway, it's 9:02. I've gone 2 minutes over. I apologize for that. I hope that was okay. It was definitely rushed because I had so much to get through. So I'll push all the stuff that we've done, the JavaScript implementation of the service, the extended CDS definition of the services with the bound actions of functions and the unbound actions of functions, the curl scripts that call each of those, so you can play with those. Everything should work locally. Yeah, and that's it. So have a great rest of Friday. Have a great weekend. Yeah, let me know if this was helpful. I think this brings us to the end of what I wanted to do for the OData back to basics. We're going to do some back to basics on other stuff. Let me know if this was generally helpful. I think Andrew has already, for example. So other than that, I wish you all the best. See you soon.